We have so many modern devices these days. I want to take your mind back to an old device. Do you remember the projectors that we used to have? There were things called slide projectors, and you'd have a box of slides and this thing, a projector. I don't know what it looked like, but at any rate, if this is one of the slides, the light, you'd shine light through it, and then on a screen back there someplace, you could see enlarged picture of whatever that represented, and then you could take that slide out and put another one in. Uh, let's suppose that we think of this slide here as containing what's going on in the world, your world or the world or however you want to view it. And so you look upon the world and notice this happening, that happening. I could start and be, let's just name something. How about they found a new variation of COVID did this more worse than the previous one? How about that one? How about they found 10 variations of it? That the first thought statement I heard was true. The second one I just made up, but does it matter whether it's one or 10? Uh, let's suppose that uh, uh, 1,000 people died today of COVID, and that tomorrow there's going to be 10,000, and after that 2 million. Does it matter? Uh, let's and by the way, it doesn't matter to me unless I'm one of them. If I'm the one being carried to the hospital, is Bob, are you happy with your position here? I might say, give me a minute. I'm on my way out, actually. I don't know what I would say. Uh, However, I would be giving it all to God. All that you can just simply rely on. I would be saying this whole situation, I'm just giving this to Spirit. And it is such an incredibly strong thought that I need to remind you of it. I may just start doing this every single week, so that you will know that it doesn't have to affect you. COVID, what is this? COVID 10, 9, what's their number on it?
19.
COVID 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, all the coming, and COVIDs and all the COVIDs to come. Politics and all the politics to come. It just doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter. That's what was one of our jokes or something, is that it doesn't matter. You say, well, it doesn't matter until it grabs you. You see, that's what the ego is going to tell you. It doesn't matter if you're just looking at it, and it matters in the lives of other people, and I want to be compassionate about their situation. But do I want to think it endangers me? No, I don't want to think that. And how can I rest, have some certainty about this? Well, you can't, I don't suppose you can unless in general, but if you really take the course to heart, you can. It simply says, just remember, don't forget, the only purpose in the world is the healing of God's Son, and that means His mind, and that means you. For you, it means you. And it's what means it for everybody, of course, but you think your thoughts, not theirs. And well, what do most people think the world is for? Getting power, getting more money, getting more girls or guys, or just having more children. I don't know, or having more things, fun and games. That's a pretty inclusive one. Have all as much fun as you can and play all the games you like to play. And the course says, no, it's not for any of that. It's for healing your mind and healing other people's minds as well. And the important thing is not that is one of its purposes. It's the only purpose that it has. Now, if you want it to have some other purpose, that's fine. And you're going to be under the law, the world's laws of violence and death. That's what the Course says. But if you remember that, you're not under the world's laws of violence and death. You just aren't. You're under no laws but God's. God does not bring COVID, violence, death, what chaos, whatever. He doesn't bring that. And so you will not be under it. You so remember to say to yourself, if you can get yourself to accept occasionally at least that you believe that the world has no other purpose than that, you have the foundation, total foundation for saying, I'm under no laws but God's. You're not just repeating a affirmation. It's fine to repeat affirmations. It's even better if they're true. If they're not true, it doesn't really mean anything. Although even if you don't believe it fully, even if you say an affirmation, you're at least putting that positive thought in your mind at that instant, and that has value. But I'm saying that uh, if indeed you believe that's the only purpose of the world, you're just not under the world's laws. So why do you care? You only care. I mean, yes, it is good to be compassionate and care for other people, but as far as you're concerned, you say, well, it doesn't touch me. It just doesn't touch me. Uh, and don't expect the world to tell you that. The world doesn't know that. The world looks at this little thing here, slide of the world, and it believes it has a storyline that it puts out and that it believes. And that's fine. You just want to bless all the people putting out all the storylines. We don't care. Do you really care about what someone you don't know and have never met and almost certainly never will thinks in the White House or in the Congress or in the Pentagon or in the wherever, whatever? No, surely not. I don't know what they think really anyhow. I can listen to what they say. That does not necessarily tell me what they think. They're not always the same. And do I care? No. I just wish them well. I, the purpose of the world, this world, for them is to heal their minds. The purpose for me is to heal my mind. And I don't have to wait to heal my mind for them to get theirs healed. You're in for a long wait if you want to do that. You know, you can just start that right now. So the Course says this so simply. It says, the world has no meaning other than what you give it. And in and of itself, it has no meaning at all. It's meaningless. So when you see this world, whatever it is that's happening here that you don't like, let's say, maybe it looks chaotic. Oh, it's just gone crazy. No, it hasn't. It's always been crazy. From the beginning to the end. Sometimes the craziness looks kind of good. Oh, peace reigns. Yeah, right. 10 years later, whoops, we're in a war again. You know, we have so many poor people. We have so many sick people. We have so many angry people. Yeah, well, whatever. Which one are you putting? Which kind of thought are you putting in your mind? That's really all that matters. But I would like to say also that compassion matters. There are two aspects. In other words, if this is your body and your mind, what you put in your mind, what kind of thoughts matters to you completely. And what other people, I draw them as small because we always think we're more important than other people. So what they're putting in their mind doesn't matter at all. But what is happening to them, you want to have a sense of caring for them. And so, well, what does that mean? Taking care of? No, I'm not talking about that. It just means to recognize that they are soaked in the untruth. And untruth hurts. To various and sundry degrees, of course. We want to remember where they are. How can you tell if they're in truth? Well, are they smiling? Do they have any cares of any kind about anything?
Scratch right.
Well, that's all they have. That's all they talk about. Yes, that's all they have. Well, you need to care for them. You need to care for them because they're part of us, and they're basically lost in the darkness. No, they will not continue to be lost in the darkness. If anybody's angry, he's lost in the darkness. If he's sad, he's lost in the darkness. If joy doesn't reign, he's lost in the darkness. Joy is the light. Love is the connector. And that is what spirit brings when you allow it. We don't generally allow it. Now let's think about that. Why do you not allow joy to just engulf your whole mind now? Bam. Did anybody get joy there? Okay, well, probably not. But you do have to be open to it. I remember when I first started learning some things like this, people started talking about being able to receive things, and that didn't mean anything to me for some reason or other. But it's come to mean more and more as time goes on. You have to be willing to receive good. Oh, I remember. How did that work out? Uh, I was teaching a little group, and we were supposed to pass around a hat. This was at Unity Church, and at the end, so people could put their donations in. Unity took donations a lot. You there was no you paid nothing to enter. There was no charge of admission, but donations were good. And the pastor, the minister or whatever, had told me there to bring that whatever I got there and give half of it to him, and he would keep the other half. I think it was like that. First thing I said was, I don't need to pass the hat. And he said, well, yeah, you do. And I said, well, if you insist, okay, fine. Uh, that's because I was happy to do it without being. I was just happy to do. If you'll let me do it, I was already being paid as far as I was concerned. And so a strange thing happened once. So everybody puts in $1 or $2. And I'm happy to give, and I give the $1 to him, and he gives me 50 cents. Fantastic. Well, one day somebody wrote a check for $200. And so I went up and gave it to him. He handed me $100 bill. Well, the next week, no, I noticed it was happening once a month from the same person. Another $100. Now this was money. The 50 cents I didn't count one way or the other, but $100. Well, I didn't just. Besides, I was at the time I was single and paying for my wife to go through school and for everything that happened to the house, and I was making an attempt to live on very, very little, which I didn't mind doing at all. But at some point I decided, it dawned on me, this person doing this, they don't realize that they're giving half of that to me. They think they're giving all of that to the church, I bet. I should tell them, by the way, whatever you give here, I get half of it. I just want you to know that. Because they didn't live in Knoxville, they lived in Oak Ridge, I think, and so it was not convenient for them to come to the church and give and put their money in the offering plate. And I was a little bothered by that. I'm trying to remember what I did by it, because I didn't want to receive it. That's really what was behind it. Here, the universe is going out of its way to extend a little extra money towards me. And I said, no. I was tempted. I could say I was really thinking about it a bit. Do I need to receive that or not? And so I don't know. I don't know what I did about it because I've forgotten. But I do remember that I learned you must let the universe give to you what it gives. You don't have to stand up and say, no, I don't deserve it. So you don't have to stand up and say, do you really want to give me money for the work I did? Of course. If they don't do the work, as the usual way it works, we don't usually work for free. We just play. If you're doing it for free, it's probably play. It's something you really enjoy and you don't need the money. That's it. let's say. Anyhow, you do it no matter. But I did start accepting that. I didn't tell the person, hey, don't you know you're giving half that to me and I don't do a very good job up here, do I? Well, if you want to think that way. But what the important thing is, you must, who are you to say how good a job you do? You don't know. And who are you to say whether God wants you to be continuing to do that or not? You know, I guess he will let you know if he doesn't. But you must be willing to receive if you expect to get anything. And I'm talking about energy primarily. Everything's kind of energy. Money represents energy.
I can't hear anything he says.
And you must say to yourself, I am open to receive everything Spirit wants to bring me. And I do not set expectations up on it, that it will be big or little or whatever. Spirit's not retarded. It knows the optimal amount. You don't have to tell it. And you don't have to say, I've got to have $5.50 tomorrow or $500.50 tomorrow or whatever. In fact, that's one of the wonderful things about A Course of Miracles is it lets you know that you don't know what the miracle is up front. See, normally you would say, I'm going to ask for a miracle for this so that I will get a better pair of shoes when I go to the store, or a better coat. I'm going to buy something to wear. And the Course says, no, you don't want to do that. You just ask for a miracle for that situation. And the miracle may have nothing to do with the coat. I remember that reminds me of the story that Helen Schuchman told somebody, and it was recorded in absence from Felicity, I believe, that she wanted to go to the store and buy an article of clothing of some sort or other, and she usually went to this very fancy store. And Jesus told her, no, you want to go to this little Kmart type store. Buy your new coat there. Again, it might not have been a coat, I don't recall. Well, she had learned that it pays off to kind of listen to what Jesus says, at least some of the time. And so she went there, and it just turned out that the man that waited on her had a daughter with some mental problems of some sort, and she got to talking to him, and that came out, and she knew exactly what to say to him. She may have referred him to someone. She may have even told him to bring the daughter to herself. I don't really remember, because she understood the situation. That was her job. She was a psychologist, I guess, and she did work with children to some extent or other. So Jesus had a reason. How could she have possibly asked for that miracle? Jesus, please send me to someone who has a sick daughter. Really? Is that no, you don't know. You don't have to be thinking about that. But the miracle is not necessarily what you would envision. And so the Course says you don't get to tell Jesus or the Holy Spirit what miracle you want. That's not your job. Your job is to receive it, not to generate it. If you could generate it, you wouldn't need Jesus or the Holy Spirit. You just tell them to get out of the way and let you do your miracle generating. But you can't. I can't. That's what a miracle is. It's not something that you do. You don't initiate it. It doesn't come to you through your own power. It only comes to you when you're open to receive. And you must not put conditions on the reception of the miracle. I will receive it only if it's a car, it's got to be green. Okay, whatever. And so what shows up in your front door? A car and a can of green paint? Well, I don't know. But if you want a miracle, you must be open to receive it in whatever form it's going to come. So what you want to do, first of all, to receive a miracle, I think there are about 4 steps. One, you ask. Now technically you probably don't have to ask. You just have to be open to receive, but we're so poor at that we need to ask. That is a way of saying I'm open to receive a miracle. You don't ask for something you don't want, And the other thing is you must make sure that God understands that you're giving him permission to help you. Because by coming here, we're saying to him, please go away. You can't come here. God can't come into physical form. We do. And we can sit here and laugh and say, ha ha ha, you can't touch me. I'm in physical form. Well, so that you need to undo that, at least momentarily, and give God permission to help you because you have told him to leave you alone. And he does. When you do something that is unkind, does a lightning bolt strike you? Well, of course not. Well, if he was watching carefully and rewarding and punishing, which depending on which way you went, it would. You start to say a lie, boom, lightning frizzles you right there. We wouldn't have any people walking around here. They'd all be frizzled practically. Well, God doesn't do that. He allows, does not interfere with insanity. This is insanity here. This is just what it is. And he allows that for as long as you want it. And miracles are a way of changing that. And so you ask, you must let God, I'm giving you permission now. And furthermore, I am receptive. I am ready to receive. Two things you have to do with your mind. If you don't do that, you don't get it. We think that mind is, and thoughts are not important. That's where everything starts. Everything starts as a thought. If you think of a counterexample, please tell me. I would be interested to hear. It had to be a thought in somebody's mind. The light bulb was a thought in Edison's mind. Okay. Quite an amazing idea to think that you could get light from something other than fire. Before then, we had candles and torches. You know, in olden times, they're always carrying torches at night. Why don't they just flip on the light switch? Well, there are no light switches. You know, Edison had the idea that you could get it from electricity. Well, why would you think that? Well, maybe he had seen a bolt of lightning. A bolt of lightning is electric. I don't know what. I presume Edison knew. I'm sure he surely, good to goodness, he knew that. Did Franklin come before or after Edison? I don't really know. Probably before, but Franklin was around while we were writing the Constitution, wasn't he? I believe Edison was. Edison was definitely. So at any rate, it was his idea, and he pursued it diligently. Do you all know that a light bulb is not a trivial thing? You send electricity through most things. What's your wire going to be made out of? It's the big problem. Generally, whatever you make out of it, it just melts it or cracks it or breaks it. Yeah, it might make a little shot of light, but then it's gone. I think he tested thousands of things, or at least 1,000. Very, very large, trying everything he can. It's not just a piece of copper that's wound around there in the light bulb. I think it's carbonized I don't know what it is. Let's just be honest. I've heard, but I've forgotten. Tungsten. I think that originally it was a carbonized something or other. It probably used tungsten now. Have anybody else heard that? That like a little slim piece of paper, and then you carbonize. I'm not quite sure what that means. Anyway, we don't have to go on that because I don't have enough information to fill in all the details. But he was very open to receive because he did it again and again and again. Let's say 1,000 times. It was a big number. Finally, he found whatever it was, and now we used tungsten.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob. I read just recently, and it may have been in Ra because he talked about Edison, but somebody asked Edison why he kept going after so many hundreds and thousands of failures, and he said, "I never saw one of them as a failure. It was all a path forward for me."
Well, that he has a unique viewpoint, and he was definitely open to receive, even after maybe 1,000 failures. I don't know. We usually can ride through 1 or 2 failures, and then we just quit, you know. So you have to ask. That is the beginning thing, but you don't ask specifically. You just say, what's bothering you is that he's doing that to her, let's say. You don't ask for that to be cured. You just simply pull out and say, I want a miracle for that situation. Let God bring the answer. And that's what the Course says. You don't supply the answer. You just give permission and get yourself ready to receive. And then the next thing you do is to detach. You detach from the outcome. That's really, really important. And the Course in Miracles is not the only teaching that says that. Eastern teachings say that as well. And there may be other scriptures that emphasize it oft as well. So, and well, in Christianity, it's like thy will be done, not mine, but thine, something like that. But the detachment is necessary. If you don't detach, then you will be expecting your miracle instead of God's miracle, and your miracle is no good for you. If it was, you wouldn't be asking for one from God. If you already knew what the appropriate solution was. So you have to detach from the outcome. That's terribly important. I did not know that. Growing up, did I know that? No. I asked for a miracle. I didn't get it. I stopped believing in God. He's useless. He can't hear. He's too far away. He suffered financial setbacks. I don't know. There was some problem. Well, there's no problem except the one that's in our mind, and which says, I only want it if it's like I say it ought to be. And if you want to play that game, you can. The world plays it again and again and again. Do you know what, at least as I look at it, what kind of error would be in the attitude of people who are very liberal minded, who think that all our problems can be solved if we just work hard, smile often enough, and put enough money into it. It's going to be solved. And so you take a step in that direction. Let's just have free schools for everybody. Well, we already have that. Well, let's have free college for everybody. We already have that. Whatever. It's whatever the problem is, just try to solve it. What is the error in that? And the other, maybe other people think, oh, who have more of a, what is it, mentality, there's not enough to go around, to solve all problems. The mentality would be, well, it'd be great if we really had enough resources to do that, but we don't. Wake up, be real. We have limited resources from here to here, this much, and you got to be careful with all that. So we got to cancel all that a lot of stuff. And besides, I don't want to give those people, I don't like most of them. Whatever the reasons are. Actually, I like me most, so I'd really rather come to me. They both are worldly. One thinks the world can be perfected, even if through little gradual steps. The other thinks that there's no way to be protected, so I might as well get as much as I can and make sure me and mine have mine. Which separation, thought separation. And there may be some other idea. I haven't, there are other approaches I haven't even thought of. It doesn't make any difference. They are all based on the fact that what happens in the world matters, and it doesn't. Now, if the world can be perfected, you would do the liberal thing for certain. Well, my gosh, if that will work, why not give anybody everything? Just line up at the money booth. We'll give all you amount you want. There's no end to it. I got a machine. I just turn it, and it just spews it out. And somebody says something about inflation. No, that's outlawed. I don't allow that. Not quite sure how you accomplish all that. But on the other hand, if there was actually things to be feared in the world, like people of other races, other religions, like anybody that threatens to take any of your power away, other genders, whatever. Well, there's only one other gender, but we can imagine a people that had several genders, I suppose. I'm not quite sure how that would work. But it's certainly conceivable.
Well, bees have three.
Oh, do they?
Queen bee, worker bee, and drone.
If you can go from 2 to 3, I'm sure you can think of a way to go from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. There's no telling what's out there in the stars. Just no telling, So the world's solutions, no matter what they are, can't perfect the world. That's really the bottom line. So it doesn't really matter which type of error you want to make there. Only what matters is how you see it. That's what matters. You see, because you think you look at all this and you say, oh, they're trying to go either this way or this way. I don't know. I think this will work, but that won't, or whatever. And I'll argue with anybody and everybody about the direction of my error. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter at all. How much meaning do you give it? Zero. There is no other number applicable. Zero. I remember making a statement in here, and I did follow through on that I didn't care who won this election, and I didn't. I didn't mean I didn't vote for who I preferred, but as soon as I preferred and voted, I detached. And I just don't care. Making no difference to me whatsoever. Why should I care? It's a meaningless world. How easily you forget that, or at least I can forget. You have to work at it. I'm not saying it just comes automatically, because we're in a world that believes in separation, and it upholds that. And it says this is good and this is bad. And Shakespeare knew this. There's nothing good or bad in the world except your thinking makes it so. Isn't that what Shakespeare said?
Shakespeare.
What an insight he has. Well, the Course does, but did it change the thinking of a lot of people? Probably not. I don't know why it did. Maybe it did for some. The Course in Miracles says, I want to change the thinking of a lot of people. And so in lesson number 1, basically it says, whatever I see, it doesn't mean anything. It said, and it gets specific. This book doesn't mean anything. That device doesn't mean anything. Your body doesn't mean anything. The ceiling doesn't mean anything. And then it goes on to say that you give it all the meaning it has. You're the boss. Uh-oh. There's the problem. I'm the boss. And of course, they'll have a solution for that too. Stop being the boss. The boss is spirit. You just do what spirit tells you. If it doesn't, you don't do it. How do I do that? You determine what makes you feel peaceful. Does it make you peaceful to judge people of opposing views? Well, I get a little bit of entertainment because I've stored up some really good arguments. I cut that old guy down. That does not make you feel peaceful. It makes you feel special. Peaceful and special is not the same thing. It doesn't make you feel quite so special when he cuts you down, but it's all the same game, see. Do you play the game or do you not? And again, you have to exert. It needs to be a habit of your mind. I never root for a football team. I watch football games once a week because I have a friend who likes to watch them. And it's an interesting game, just like a ballet. No, ballets are not interesting to watch. But they have potential for it. You have to have the right mindset, and I just don't have it. No criticism in a ballet, except for the fact I know they really hurt their feet doing that. Well, football players really hurt their whole bodies doing that. It's just, the Course says your body will be just fine unless you ask of it more things than it was made to give. What does that say about the sports world? Not good. Well, and it's okay because we know that. We know that doing sports, you're going to get injuries, and many of them, maybe not all of them. But pull a muscle is nothing else. I mean, you're trying to push your body to over and above the ordinary limits. And of course, basically says, yeah, you can do that, but if you don't, it'll work fine. Until it becomes your learning, and then it becomes your learning device. It is such a beneficial thing to be here in this world. It has nothing to do with which type of chaos do you like? It doesn't matter. And you say, it does. I was taught in school as I grew up that democracy was the best form of government. There's no such thing as a best form of government. I was taught that a dictatorship was the worst form of government. There's no such thing as a worse form of government. There's nothing good or bad in any government or any people, because good and bad don't mean anything. They don't mean anything. What means something is what is the state of your mind? How effectively is it being healed? Every time you mention something as good or bad, you're taking a pair of scissors to your mind and slicing pieces of it off. It hurts it. It does not bring peace. It separates you from spirit. And so you must detach when you ask for a miracle. It's not optional, in my opinion. You can disagree if you wish, of course. You can disagree about anything you want. It's not my problem. But that's the second. The third thing, I'm going to come up with 4 things. The third thing is allow the miracle to come. Often we get impatient and we'll say, it's not here yet. I asked yesterday. God, what's wrong with you? Did you put me on hold? All the receptionists, all the lines busy. I asked yesterday. And I'm at the door waiting, counting the seconds. Okay. That meant looking at your watch, which I don't have a wristwatch, but we used to have wristwatch. Well, we still have wristwatches. But I guess the phones that we carry around are pretty much taken the place of that, at least to some extent. Well, I don't have one of those either. But not allowing it to come occurs when you start complaining about it's not being here, as soon as you like. Why do I have to wait for this? Why do I have to wait? Well, we do have to wait in this plane of existence. There's a time delay between your thought and its outward effect. Thank God, for that. Well, not literally, because he didn't come up with this situation, but it is very, very convenient. So every time you get mad, and I wish that person had just fallen in a garbage can someplace. You don't see him all of a sudden falling into a garbage can. Well, I'm glad about that. I think I told y'all several weeks ago that I jumped into a garbage can. You remember me saying that? And I hurt my rib. Well, my rib's okay now. Oh, you missed that one, didn't you, Pat? Well, it's hardly worth telling, but I was reaching way down in the garbage can. I just strained some more and more, and I was poised, balanced on one of my ribs. And one of my ribs said, "This hurts. Don't like this." And so I come out with a rib that was sore. Now, as soon as I checked, I was just doing it my way. That's the way I looked at it. I was not asking for a miracle. I didn't care. I can do this. How many times did you say, I can do that? Well, I'm not telling you not to do that, but be open to spirit if spirit would like to gently move you this way instead of that way, because it knows the truck is over there and coming down the road, and that's not its will for you. So Helen had to struggle with that a bit for Jesus, but when he would tell her to do this, that, the other, but evidently she made progress. We are allowed the opportunities here to make progress. Be thankful for the ridiculous world. If it wasn't ridiculous, it wouldn't challenge you. So it's always just roses. Boring. It'd just be so boring you wouldn't even look at it. We like to look at chaos but we don't generally like to be in it. It kind of scares us, and we don't want to look at it too much, because if you look at it too much, you are putting yourself into that mind state, and it may become unpleasant. So allow it to get here. Don't let the chaos surrounding affect you. It doesn't affect what you are. That's, of course, is our main problem. We've forgotten what we are. How many times do you tell yourself during the day that you're perfect? Once? Twice? 10? Wow. Well, that's true. That's the truth. The mind that is not healed does not see itself as lovable. Every person in here is equally lovable to every other person and is completely lovable. But that didn't mean your body and personality are worth looking at or fooling with. I mean, that's personal judgment, one way or the other. That's not what it's talking about. It's not talking about your body, your personality. They're vehicles. They're just vehicles. And what is perfect is your spirit or your soul. And you can use either way, either word. If you wanted to think it was a beautiful and powerful spirit of light, that would work too. And it's perfect and eternal. But our minds are indeed sick. Just accept it. And that's okay. That's why you're here. You're admitted to the insane asylum because you're insane. If you weren't insane, you wouldn't come here. You wouldn't bother. But that's it. And so it's okay to be insane, but it's not okay to just stay there and accept it. You have miracles that will help you to learn that things can be different. Next week, I had such a nice little miracle this week, and I'm going to tell you about it next week.
That's a good teaser for next week.
It is a good teaser, but for me, being in the publishing business, sort of, it was really it just really got my attention. And if you will return next week, I will tell you the conclusion of this story. And I'm just going to end there. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bob.
Can I reserve